Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Welcome back to my channel and to the new Iona Agora series. If you ever wondered whether magic can make you rich, if it can cure the incurable, or whether it can calm the chaos like a cosmic service line, well, you're not alone. I get this question constantly. And when I say that real magic is not like a slot machine to use when you're hit by desperation and needs, the reply I usually get is, well, so it's just psychology then, or I can do the same thing with meditation. Well, in this video, I want to answer this question honestly and practically, and most importantly, without selling you fairy dust. Let's begin with the terms. Many of you watching this channel, we already know that Aleister Crowley defined magic as the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. But this definition alone hinges on understanding properly what will means in Thelema, and that's maybe something for another day. However, he also insisted that every intentional act is a magical act, and that we should make magic the essential factor in our lives. In other words, this is not something you bolt on like a novelty spoiler on a family car. This is the art of living on purpose. He writes, "Magic is the art of causing change in existing phenomena. This definition includes raising the dead, bewitching cattle, making rain, acquiring goods, fascinating judges, and all the rest of the program." Good. But it also includes every act soever? Yes, I meant it to do so. It is not impossible to utter word or do deed without producing the exact effect proper and necessary thereto. Thus, magic is the art of life itself. Well, if that's true, then magic starts from the inside and works outward, as fellow Thelemic author Bishop Harbour intelligently remarked. And those who ask, what can it do for me, often imagine like a lightning bolt from the outside that fixes everything. Crowley's current says the polar opposite. First, you clarify the signal of your will, and then you express it through symbol, ritual, devotion, and ethical action. And so, is it just psychology? The short answer is no. But it includes psychology by the way music includes acoustics. The mind is magic's first temple, but it is not the only one. And here is the part that often gets lost. Rituals measurably change how we feel and perform. Over a decade of psychological research shows that even simple ritual structure can reduce grief and anxiety and improve performances by increasing a sense of control and lowering arousal. These effects do not depend on believing in any particular cosmology. They depend on doing the ritual. Related work on placebo and healing rituals demonstrate that the shape, the setting, and symbolism of a rite can recruit real neurobiological cascades. And ritual does not only trick you, it mobilizes embodied expectation in clinically meaningful ways. If you like a more theoretical map, predictive processive models of the brain suggest that perception and action are guided by actively generated expectations. Rituals, so, can be seen as a disciplined way to tune to those expectations, which in turn reorganize experience and behavior. And this is just one reason why even secular rites work. All of this is useful, but it's not the whole of magic. I work in a spirit-forward way, and the premise is simple. There are intelligences other than human, and relationships with them can and should be cultivated. Offerings, oaths, and rites gives the relationship a shape. And at the same time, I keep a sanity check in my pocket. Would this operation still be constructive if bracketed literal belief for a moment? If the answer is no, then something is off in the design. You can think of it a bit like martial art drills. Rehearsals conditions you to move in a certain way under pressure. Ritual conditions your attention and your environment so that certain pathways are more likely to open. Whether you speak of probability tunnels or pattern spirits, the training matters. And for those who crave a personal brush with the other, the hunger is real. Traditional religion often fails to acknowledge it. People go walking in haunted landscapes because they want the world to feel alive once again. Ritual theory calls this a subjective space, a shared as if the world where we enact our life could be, and then carry a piece of that back into the ordinary. A seasoned meditator asked a fair question. Say that the effects I described for Magick sounds like what long practice delivers on the cushion. That is, long meditation practice. So what does an explicit ritual do that meditation does not? Well, we can say that meditation refines attention, whereby ritual organizes reality around that refined attention. When you sit, you cultivate clarity and equanimity within the mind. When you rise to perform a banishing, you take the clarity and etch it into the space and time. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is not only a mood setter, it is boundary and spiritual hygiene. You do not just feel calmer, the room becomes different. And so stray obsessions stop buzzing, arguments lose voltage, nightmares ease, and a temple is established when there was only a room before. There is also direction. Meditation is open and inward, whereby rituals are outward and vectorial. You anchor a vertical axis, and then you trace, speak, and vibrate so that influence is pushed and pulled with intention. And then attention gains a spine. You stand within a mapped cosmos rather than drifting inside your head. You can say that ritual recruits the whole body and the voice. Stance, gesture, breath, and vibration drive a faster, deeper state changes that bear attention for most people. Over time, this builds a subtle chassis that later work can ride upon, whether you are consecrating a talisman, invoking a deity, or addressing a spirit. And even if you bracket literal spirits for a moment, the form still trains you to show up as a different kind of presence, and space responds to that presence. There is also relationship as well. A formal rite is spoken to someone, even if that someone is the highest you dare to name. You make offerings, you set terms, and then keep oaths. And while meditation can touch the absolute, ritual binds you into an ecology of intelligences and places. And so that felt sense of reciprocity is not the same thing as watching your breath. And so maybe we can say that if meditation is the gym of attention, then the rituals of Magick are the architecture that attention inhabits. They clear the field, they align the axis, and plug you into a larger circuit so that later work has traction. The overlap with meditation is real at the level of calm and focus, while the divergence shows up in boundaries you can feel, in the presence that alters the room, in relationships that answer, and in effects you can time and track. This is why I personally work in both seats. I sit so I remember who I am, and I stand so that the word answer to that remembrance. Now let's talk for a moment of what I call the vending machine fantasy. Something like blast yourself to success in 24 hours. I can think of 20 books that act on that promise. And the problem is that promise is the gutter. It's vulgar at its core and in its exposition. In Telema we say every man and every woman is a star, which is a call to discover your unique course throughout your incarnated existence, and not a license to print wishful thinking. The marketplace loves to sell spicy psychology as magic. But if your rites never behave like magic, if they're only mood boards with candles, call them what they are. There's nothing wrong with therapy. I mean, I recommend it. Israel Regardie recommended it famously. But magic has its own dignity. It speaks to the living pattern behind things, and it asks for devotion and courage, not just hacks for optimization. And so, what can magic do for you practically? First, clarity. Ritual acts like a lens. You discover what you truly want, not what the algorithm sold you last week. You become less hypnotized by noise and more available to meaning. You begin to experience the world as happening with you rather than to you. Second, composure. A simple ritual framework regulates emotions and sharpens focus under stress. Multiple experiences show that brief ritual sequences reduces grief, tame anxiety, and improve task performance. You feel steadier, you act better, and that alone pays for the candles. Third, traction. Ritual helps you open plausible roads to results. You arrange your life so that the good thing has somewhere to land. And even outside the temple, actual structure can increase patience and persistence, which in turn can and will indirectly promote money, love, health, name it. Fourth, relationships. If you work with spirits, offerings, oaths, you deepen real alliances. And even if you do not, the same forms strengthen your bonds with communities, places, and ancestors. And either way, you become less isolated. And fifth and final, maybe, direction. Telema teaches you, as we just said, that each star has a course. And the whole of the great work is learning to hear and then follow that course. The rituals in our tradition are there to help you build a life that coheres around your will. Like my friend and fellow author and magician Stephen Grasso said, I too do not think that belief function as a currency. Belief is not the end-all. Belief is not the fuel. And this is contrary to what many say and teach nowadays. Belief rises and falls like any weather. What matters instead is devotion, is repetition, and most importantly of all, a well-constructed rite, which is why you should learn how to do it. Then again, placebo research often shows that some benefits persist also in open-label conditions, and that is where participants know that they are receiving a placebo. And so we can say that expectation and context are powerful levers. This means that the spirits, if you work with them, and you should, can move into that open space more easily when you're not suffocating the rite with anxiety over outcomes. That is, delivering yourself from the lust of result according to the book of the law. And I already hear some of you asking, and in fact many of you have asked already in the comments of my previous videos, how is magic any different from the law of attraction? Well, New Thought says that reality follows belief and mood. So if you visualize and affirm until desires become magnetized, you will obtain what you want. Well, Magick says that reality instead responds to consecrated action aligned to the true will. You still clarify desire, but you also purify it. You bind it to an oath. You house it in a vessel. And then you time it. And then you pay for it with practice and offerings. We can say that the law of attraction is mostly cognitive and affective, whereby magic is cognitive, affective, somatic, symbolic, and relational. It includes non-attachment to outcome because will is not identical to whatever the ego wants this week. So I recently asked my wider community what magic represents for them, and many have said that magic is basically the unification of the opposite. And I obviously agree. You marry reason and imagination, discipline and play, solitude and community, the seen and the unseen. This marriage yields a person who is not enslaved by impulses, but is also not anesthetized against wonder. The journey matters more than the destination. Magic will not usually hand you riches or rescue you from the storm overnight, but it will change you, and by that change, the weather around you begins to move differently. Sometimes the answers will arrive softly. Sometimes everything falls, collapses, so that something true can stand up in its place. And so it is not only psychology, though it uses psychological tools. When you work magic, you speak to the living pattern behind things with symbols, with emotion, and with will. And sometimes the pattern speaks back. Sometimes it roars. This is why Crowley's formula still matters. If you make magic the essential factor in your life and not a last result, that's how it becomes the art of living itself. And so in closing, we go back to the beginning, like a perfect Ouroboros. What can magic do for you, right here and right now? It can make you awake. It can make you free. It can make you joyful in the simple and glamorous way that grows from knowing who you are and from acting accordingly. And when that happens, reality stops feeling like a stranger's house. You start to recognize it as a conversation you are finally having on purpose. So if this helped, please like the video, subscribe, hype, share it with your contacts, all the things that the algorithm needs. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, check out my books and my courses in the description below. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love and the will.